Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know. We're going to be very, very thoughtful today. You're going to get some information. Might want to have that pad of paper and pencil there because there's going to be a lot of information that may help you or your family, your offsprings, your relatives. I'm kind of setting you up here. We are brought to you today by our good friend, our producer, and our sponsor. Look who it is. It is Christine Dean, who is the DFW networking diva. Trust me, I've been telling you for a long time, Christine is the diva of the internet. She knows everything about podcasting. She knows everything about marketing your company, about taking you to the next level. She can even have a consultation with you for free just to go over your website and say, everything looks great, or maybe I can tweak it just a little bit. She loves delving into websites and everything in order to see if there is a way that you can take your business and your social presence up to the next level. Christine Dean, the DFW networking diva. Reach out. Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about college. Now, for those of you who say, oh, wait, I was already in college, I don't need this click, maybe your kids are getting ready or your grandkids are getting ready to go to college and you want them to go to a good school, but you realize that if they want to go into a really good school, it could cost you an arm and a leg and maybe even a lung. Well, my guest can help you get your child into the school that they want debt-free. How does that sound? Pique your attention? Jeannie Burlowski, welcome to Someone You Should Know.
Boy, it is great to be on Someone You Should Know. And if people listening today have kids between the ages of 12 and 26, the things we're going to talk about today are directly aimed at those families. So I want, especially people who got kids who are 12, they think, oh, we're not ready for college yet. My child just got out of diapers. But this is exactly where those people need to be.
Yeah. And I know that there are programs. In fact, we enrolled our grandson when he was born, shortly after he was born, into a pre-paid college program so that money would accumulate interest and have that pot of money available when he went to college. But over the years, he's 14 years old now, so he's about 4 years away from going to college. And you think, well, I started a college fund back then, so everything should be taken care of. Not necessarily. It's a start, but I think that you'll be able to let people know that there can even be a better way. Your book is right over your shoulder. Launch is the name of the book. And folks, I want you to go to Amazon and I want you to read the reviews and learn about the book Launch, because it may very well be an investment for the future of your children or your grandchildren to know what this book is all about. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The first question that I got is, what possessed Jeannie Burlowski to get involved in helping people with debt-free college?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I have spent 25 years as an academic strategist, and for many years, my whole focus was helping students apply to law school, medical school, very competitive graduate schools or MD, PhD programs. And I would always have to have a talk with my clients about their debt, because as a strategist, I cannot help you to get ready for some goal that's going to strap you financially so you can't afford to buy groceries or have a house. And so I would say, how much student loan debt do you have right now if we're looking at the cumulative? And I heard heartbreaking stories of students who ran up $180,000 in undergrad on some degree they didn't even like, and they couldn't get a job in the field. And then they went back and did college over again. And that was how many students just rack up massive amounts of debt by doing college twice because the first time doesn't have a purpose. We're going to talk about that today. But then at the same time, I have had some of the most brilliant strategic kids in the country coming through my office. And sometimes I would say, how much student loan debt do you have right now for looking at the cumulative? And they would say, I have zero. And I would say, you have zero? How did you do that? And then these kids would tell me the most brilliant, clever ways for getting through college without debt, without scholarships, without federal financial aid, without saving up a bunch of money in advance. And I'm writing these things down like crazy, right, Stuart? Because this is what a consultant does. We take brilliant ideas from one client and then we charge the next person by the hour to hear that exact same information. So I'm stuffing these ideas in a desk drawer. And it finally came out. I needed to package this somehow and make it available to the public. And people said to me, why don't you start another consulting firm? Because Stuart, you've got grandchildren. Would you pay $5,000 to a consultant to save your family $100,000? Absolutely, you would.
Absolutely.
But
In a heartbeat.
I couldn't do that. And the reason is I really have a heart that cares for poor people, that cares for the kids who are getting out of foster care with all of their belongings in a garbage bag, people who could never afford to pay $5,000 for a consultant. So I took everything I knew about debt-free college and thriving career, because thriving career is a huge part of this. I stuffed it all into a book that anybody can get for free at the library. And that is Launch: How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and into jobs they love afterward.
And you said one word in what you were just talking about that I caught, and probably those watching and listening caught, and that's the word scholarship. Because people say, well, my child is pretty smart and they're gonna work hard in high school and all, and they're gonna get a scholarship to go to either a state school or even better. You can't bank on that anymore. You hope for it, but that may not pay the way either. You just threw out a figure of $180,000. There are colleges that can be the cost of 1 year of college. Not your college career.
Well, yeah, college can be really expensive, but there are so many ways that we can trim down and we can limit the amount of money that the family has to pay. It's just that people aren't hearing about these things. They only hear about the big three, about scholarships, financial aid, saving money in advance. They don't hear about tuition reimbursement jobs where a kid works part-time working for UPS or Ann Taylor or Gap, and one of their employee benefits is that they get $5,000 in their tuition paid by the company every year. And so some of these kids who take advantage of this benefit, they're walking across the stage at their college graduation and someone just stuffed $20,000 in their account to pay their college bills. And now it's people who hear about this think, I'm thrilled. I'm so glad that I know about this. But there are many, many other ideas that are not difficult or time consuming to implement, and they will not risk a kid's admission to law school or medical school or graduate school or business school. They won't hurt a kid in the least. And you want to talk, Stuart, do you want to talk just a little bit about scholarships? Because a lot of families think that's the main way we're going to try to get it paid for, right? Do you want to talk about?
And not only that, but they assume that maybe they'll get a scholarship to get them into a state school. But maybe the child has got their eyes set on going to an Ivy League school, and you say, no, wait a minute, a state school is all that we could afford for you. That's not necessarily true, is it?
Well, that's a very good topic for you to be bringing up. And I'll talk about state schools in just 1 second, but let's talk about this idea of scholarships. I know parents who've got kids who are 12 years old or 15, they're thinking, oh, dear God, please let us get a scholarship. That's how we want to pay for this. But what parents find is that often students who are teenagers are just unwilling to apply for them. The parents will say, "Hey, why don't you apply for some scholarships?" And then the kid will say, "No, I don't want to. I was going to play some video games today." And parents find it to really be a struggle to get kids to apply for them. And then parents worry. They'll say, "My child doesn't have straight A's. My child doesn't have the highest test scores in the world. Maybe she's not even a candidate for scholarships." And then parents wonder, where do we even find scholarships to apply for? So the message I send to parents is, let's just set that aside and not worry about it. Let's look at non-scholarship strategies for getting kids through college debt-free. And once you start engaging with those, because they're low-hanging fruit, they're easier strategies than filling out scholarship applications. And people who find me at my website, debtfreecollege.us, that's the launch pad for every good thing that I do. And so we set scholarships aside, and then parents get interested and excited about doing some other things. And then often what happens is the teenagers start to see the parents engaging with debt-free college strategy, and they say, "I want in, I'll do something." And then they'll say, "Oh, Mrs. Burlowski has 34-minute video training on how to write one scholarship application essay and use that over and over again, which is going to make it so easy for me to apply for scholarships." The kids sometimes say, "I think I will apply for some." And
Well, considering they're going to be the beneficiary of going through that process, why not be a part of the process so that you know what you're doing and how to do it?
Right. So for your listeners, I'm going to provide, and you'll put this in the show notes too. I'm going to provide this link. This is 34-minute video training that I have created. It's all lowercase, all one word, bit.ly/get more scholarships. And here I teach students, and it's funny, it's engaging. Here's 34 minutes, write one scholarship application essay and use it over and over. And then I also provide a link that tells you where to go to find scholarships to apply for. And so some students will watch this with their parents. Students don't usually watch it on their own, but they'll watch it with a parent. And then the student starts getting excited about this, some as young as age 12. I have students who are age 12 who follow me. They read my free weekly email newsletter that comes out every Monday morning, and they are on this path of hope and excitement and inspiration. It's my goal to get through college completely debt-free, all set up and ready to jump directly into a career that I excel at and love. And so this is a really good starting place for anyone who's wondering about scholarships. And then we can talk about state universities a little bit, Stuart, if you want to do that.
Well, I was an average student. I mean, for me to get a B in a class, I was over the top thrilled. But I was basically a C plus student and graduated high school. It was kind of a given that if I could get into a school, it would be a state school. And fortunately, back then, there were a lot of state schools that had programs that I was interested in. So I did get into a state school. But today, there are so many universities and colleges that have specific programs that a child might be interested in. I'll throw one out. Maybe it's marine biology. But not every state school in the country has a marine biology program. So the child wants marine biology, and you realize he's going to have to go to this number of schools. And all of a sudden, ka-ching, ka-ching, look at the cost of sending them to that school. And you mentioned scholarships too. And we're here in Texas, is where we broadcast from. And in Texas, sports is the way to get to college on a scholarship. And so the parents aren't necessarily talking about, you got to work hard to get your grades up to get into college. No, go down to the training room and bulk yourself up so you can get that football or basketball scholarship to go to college on a free ride.
I've heard this before. I have heard from parents who say, "I'm not even worried about college debt because my child plays football, and so there's going to be a football scholarship." And as gently as I can, I want to break the news to parents that only a tiny percentage of the population of students, gifted athletes, actually gets their college paid for with a football, baseball, or basketball scholarship. And if you don't play one of those big three, your chances are even smaller. I know you hear about people getting these scholarships,
Right.
but the likelihood of your child getting one and getting college paid for that way is really quite low. And in just a second, I'm going to provide a resource that parents can find online, and they can print it out and talk about it at home. Here's the problem. Sometimes students who are on sports scholarships are pressured to spend so much of their time in the training room and at practices and in buses on their way to out of town games, or on airplanes going to games and different locations, that they really find it very, very difficult to study and get their classes done. And this can greatly harm a kid's future possible career goal. And I'll tell you a story. So I help students apply to medical school. I own getintomedschool.com. And I had a whole bunch of boys one year that were all on a national championship soccer team for a important private school. And one of the boys was talking to me about his organic chemistry grade. I had to say, why did you get a B in organic chemistry? Because this is really, really important for medical school. They're looking to see if you can handle organic chemistry. They think you can handle the rest of medical school. That's an important barometer that they look at. So I said, tell me about your B.
Right.
What happened? And here's what he said. He was in this national championship soccer team. The soccer team didn't care that he had an organic chemistry final on this Friday morning. And so the plane was scheduled to come into the airport in the middle of his organic chemistry final. This is his whole future is hanging on this final. And he ran down the concourse as fast as he could. He dove into the back of a taxi. He screamed, take me to the building on campus where my organic chemistry final is taking place. He ran in the door breathless and sat down and had really only 20 minutes to do his organic chemistry final. And the coaches and the staff had said to him, well, if you're not all in on our sport here, we don't know what to do about you. You got to be all in. You got to make our sport a priority. And this kid was trying to make his future his priority. He did badly on the organic chemistry final, not because he didn't know the material, but he did badly because he didn't have time to complete it. And when he went to the professor, because of course, this is what we tell students to do. When you're having a struggle, you go to the professor and you explain what's going on and ask for help. Went to the professor. The professor simply said, I'm not giving you any special dispensation for being late. I expect you to make organic chemistry a priority. And so these tearing priorities almost kept this kid out of medical school. So this is a worry that I have about the heavy prioritization of sports. And there are a few other things too. Let's say that your child gets a sports scholarship and then they're at practice every single day. There's games on weekends and they get a repetitive stress injury and their baseball throwing arm is gone. What do you think that the school's going to say? Oh, well, you're such a dear, sweet child. We're just going to keep giving you your scholarship money for the rest of college. I mean, we got you in here with the promise of scholarship money. Don't worry that you can't play. We'll keep paying for that. No, they're going to say you're off the team. You're done. And here's a big, scary piece of paper that says this money is due right now because you no longer have that scholarship. And then you're a kid who may have pain from a repetitive stress injury for decades. So there are lots of concerns with this. And here's a resource I can provide to your listeners who I know your listeners really want to do the best possible thing for the kids. And so let's look at this with really clear, wide open eyes. What is the best thing for the kids? And I invite your listeners to Google my last name, which is Burlowski. It's right there on the bottom of the book cover. And it's on the screen too. Google my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words sports. and you'll find an article that I wrote. It'll come up right on the first page of Google, The Sweaty Truth About Sports Scholarships. And in there, I have statistics. I got an infographic from The Ohio State University that talks about how likely your child is to get money. It's essentially, you get so little money from a sports scholarship that your child would be better off working at a coffee shop for minimum wage and earning money that way than getting a sports scholarship, which requires so much time and practice and training and being on buses and going to games.
The whole subject almost is mind-boggling because, again, parents want the very best for their children.
Yeah.
And sometimes mom or dad or both will get a second job in order to earn enough money to send that C plus student to college. And they're busting their nut when there are programs out there that they can find from Jeannie Burlowski that can help them to find the road to getting that college degree without having to work 18 hours a day to do it.
Right. I talked to a financial advisor who said, let me tell you the training I had in my financial advising practice about paying for college. We were essentially told that you better start when the child is born and save up all the money, save up $250,000. And my response was, what kind of family is going to be able to do that? We're not just interested in helping wealthy people here. We want to help ordinary families and people who are even below the poverty line. We want to be able to help all kids to be able to go to college and thrive. And so the resources that I have, I carefully designed the structure of this book so that you just read a chapter every 3 months as your kids are growing up. And it's also kindly written. It says, don't worry if you can't do all this stuff, but hey, your child is in May of 9th grade right now. Here are some things that you might want to think about right now. If you can't do it, that's okay. Put it in your calendar to come back in 3 months and read another chapter. And at the very least, I can make sure that parents have the most important information they need right at the most optimal time. So I don't have to have parents saying to me when their kids are a senior in high school, I would give anything if I had known this sooner, because people are all walking through the steps together. And
what's the old phrase? Hindsight is 2020.
Oh, right. Some people will really struggle with the first child, and then they reach out for resources to try to help with the second child because they say, I just don't want to go through that.
Yeah. Or I wish I had known that when my first child went through school and ate up all of my resources.
Exactly. Right. So this is a very good time for me to tell your listeners that I've got a launch pad, a starting place for every family, whether they've got kids at 12, 15, 18, 26 years old. I've got a launch pad that people start. And that is, my website is debtfreecollege.us. And right at the top, there's a free fast-paced 10-minute training video right at the top in the big red box. And you watch a video based on your kid's current month and current year in school. So there's a video for parents of kids who are in 7th and 8th grade. And it says, here, aim right at where you are in life right now. Here's exactly how you get started. There's another one for parents of 9th and 10th graders. There's another one for parents of 11th and 12th graders, because we want people to start early, but it's never too late to get on board. Okay. And so they're in the big red box right at the top of debtfreecollege.us. And that's the way we can help parents feel like, oh, I have so many resources. I don't have to. Yeah, there they are. Those are exactly the videos. Scroll down to the big red box there, and you'll see the one on the far left is for parents of 7th and 8th graders. The one in the middle is for parents of 9th and 10th graders. And the one on the right is for parents of 11th and 12th. And if you're watching, you're seeing this on your phone, they're stacked. It resizes for every device. And it's just 10 minutes, and it fills parents with so much excitement and hope for the future, whether they're a low income family or whether they're a higher income family. Everybody needs help with this.
And folks, stop and think about it. 10 minutes, isn't that, worth an investment of 10 minutes in
It
order
is.
to launch the idea of what Jeannie Burlowski is all about and how she can help you find that debt-free solution to college. And by the way, your book also goes beyond just the debt-free college. You also say and get into jobs that you love to get into and make a career out of after college.
Yes. This is one of the few resources available in the world today that frames up the college experience as the launch pad for future career success.
Right.
And I'd like to talk about this a little bit. In chapter 13 of Launch, I talk to parents about, I want your kids to take 3 career assessments in about January of 10th grade or as soon as possible after that. Even age 26 is not too late. Now, not the career assessments offered at the high school that are scored by a robot. Those are notoriously inaccurate. And if your child came home from 10th grade and said, they made me do these career assessments and it said I should be a lumberjack or a bartender, then those are the ones I don't prefer. Your kid will be forced to take them, but I want 3 gold standard high quality career assessments. And I talk about them in chapter 10 of Launch, which parents often read when their kids are in about January of 10th grade. But it has gotten back to me that some parents are reading that chapter and then they're not doing it. They say, oh, well, we don't know anybody that's having their kids do career assessments, so we're just going to skip over that part. But this is the key to keeping kids from racking up $180,000 in student loan debt. Because what you don't want is your child just going to a college, whether it's a fancy one or not, and they get some degree in political science or art history or whatever, and then they can't find a job in the field, or they don't like it. Or they find that they didn't even like the field of study at all. And then they come back to you and they say, Dad, Grandpa, would you pay for me to go back to college again? Because what I'd really like to do is be a nurse. And I just have to do college again and take some science classes so I can be a nurse. Can I do that? This is my dream. And so some parents are having their kids actually go through college twice, which is where the massive loan debt gets racked up. That's what we want to avoid. So students and parents who follow me, many people are in my tribe membership. This is some people find out about this. They read my free weekly email newsletter. I teach a class in there where I've got parents and students ages 12 to 26, and I am emphatic about these 3 specific career assessments, and here's what they are, and here's why I want you to do them. And I really go in depth on this. And then everybody sends their kids to do the career assessments. I don't offer these myself. I'm not certified. I have to refer out for this. So I'm very careful. I get nothing for telling parents that they need to have these gold standard career assessments. And I get nothing on purpose because I don't want anyone to think, oh, she's so emphatic about it because she's making money off of this. No, I'm saving kids' lives. We're saving them from depression and anxiety and frustration in their career. And we're saving them from having to make $1,800 a month student loan payments when for a degree that they are never going to like or use. So I mention all that because this is really key. You brought up about thriving career, and kids who follow me, they are able to clarify the bullseye on the target before they take aim and shoot. And we have kids saying, based on these 3 career assessments, I want to be a certified financial planner and I want to help ordinary families maximize their money. And I'm going to be making appointments with ordinary families. Or they're able to say, I want to be a pilot And guess what? I'm going to avoid the University of Chicago. It's a good school, but they don't have pilot training. I'm going to figure out what's the fastest, least expensive way to get myself to this bullseye. We have kids who are in high school, they're in 11th grade, and they're saying, I want to be in computer science. I want to be a software developer. So guess what? I'm going to join the robotics club at my high school, and I'm going to do everything I can to get myself into the programming department. And I'm going to work my way up until I'm in charge of the programming department in the high school robotics team. I'm going to have 8 people working under me. And wow, when I go out and start shopping for jobs, and I'm able to say, I got my start in the high school robotics club where I was over 8 people in the programming department, that is attention getting. These are the kids that are they're getting internships and work experience while they're in college. And one thing I love is they're excited about their college experience. They love to get up and go to school in the morning because it has a purpose to it. These kids are at much lower risk for depression and anxiety and fear because they have clarified a bullseye that makes perfect sense based not on guessing, but based on data. And that's what we really want. So if I had designed, I didn't have all 100% of the voice in designing the cover for this book. I wish it would have said, launch how to get your kids through college debt free and into jobs they love afterward. I would like that in the biggest, boldest print, because that's what we're shooting for. Not a dream college, but a dream life.
Yeah. Because the college is the foundation for the rest of your life. So you want to use that as the vehicle to get you through the rest of your life. Now, it's easy to say for somebody that wants to go into medical school, wants to become an attorney, wants to become an accountant, because that is a path. But let's face it, I think that I read somewhere along the line, statistically, there are a lot of people that are in a career that they didn't study for in college. That, as little as 25% of those people that are working are actually working in the field that they studied in college, unless it was in one of those professional areas like accounting and medical. So, yeah, and some kids will get to their junior year of college with the idea that they want to become an accountant, and all of a sudden they want to be a NASA space scientist. Well, now all of a sudden that 4-year college is going to be a 6-year college.
Right.
And I think a good word for what Jeannie is stressing is you have to be proactive in the whole process at an early age in order to get ahead of the program instead of playing catch up. And when for those moms and dads that are watching and listening to the program, when is a good time to start saying, I need to get into launch. I need to start this process of planning for my debt-free college career for my child? Do you start in 2nd grade? Do you wait until they go to high school? When do you jump into this?
That is a really good question. And parents are waiting nervously for my answer because everyone's worried that they're too late. And
Right.
so I'm going to answer this way. Wherever you are right now, it's completely okay. You're not too late. You can jump in at any point along the journey. I had a lady write a review of this book on Amazon. She said, I only used 1/8 of an inch of the pages because I didn't get it until my child was a senior in high school. I still saved thousands of dollars using only 1/8 of an inch of the pages. So it's never too late to start, but please, parents, I don't want anybody to put this off. And I will tell you, there is a whole chapter in the book that's titled Prior to 7th Grade. So there
Okay.
are some people that get this book when their kids are in elementary school. I would say that's probably a little bit rare, but wow, to read that chapter called Prior to 7th Grade, and I'm able to so gently say to you, here are some things that you could do right now that would really set your kid up for success. Let's pull out one example. How about get yourself out of debt? Access resources so that you could figure out how to use a snowball method, and you could do a little program where you start paying off your own debts so that you are debt-free by the time your kid is 18 years old. So if some college bills do come in, you're not suffocating under your own debt, so you can't help your child. You do this, and it's not only going to help your child, it's going to help your own retirement. It's going to help you to breathe easier. It'll keep your blood pressure down. So that's an example of something that's in that chapter called Prior to Seventh Grade. Another thing that's in that chapter called Prior to Seventh Grade is, would it be possible for your family to find some way to serve the world? Not a huge time-consuming thing, but could you serve the world in some way outside the four walls of your church or your synagogue or your place of worship? Because students who are given this sense of that's what our family does, we serve, they acquire emotional intelligence, they become better employees, they will often step into service themselves as middle schoolers and high schoolers. And then these are the kids that do end up getting amazing scholarships when they're able to say, this is how I've served. And how are they ever going to learn to do that? It's because the parents step into that early on. That's the kind of thing that's in that chapter titled Prior to Seventh Grade. But there are 33 different checkpoints in this book. Some people start early, some people start later. And when people watch the free training videos at debtfreecollege.us, these are right in the big red box. You will see specific instruction on exactly how to use this book based on your kid's current month and year in school. And it's all designed to be very clear. I'm always removing overwhelm. So it's just a tiny little taste, a tiny little bite about every 3 months, and anybody can do that.
And also, Jeannie mentioned too that you can go on to the website, and Frank, you can find Jeannie at about 3 or 4 different websites, but visit that debtfreecollege.us and all, and it'll give you a lot of good information. But there was an opportunity to sign up for an email notice. I think is it every week or so you post something.
Right. My free weekly email newsletter. It comes out every week during the school year.
Right. It's gratis, folks. Take advantage of it, and read it, have your child read it, and get in the habit of knowing what it's all about so that you can help prepare for that opportunity to go to college debt-free.
I always say, if you only have 30 seconds in a week to spend on debt-free college strategy, let it be with me in my free weekly email newsletter. It hits your email inbox first thing on Monday morning. It comes out every week during the school year. And then during the summer, it comes out every other week because everybody needs a break. And that is helpful. And when people watch their 10-minute training video at debtfreecollege.us, it'll tell you how you sign up for that newsletter. And that's an integral part of the process of me being able to help a family very, very inexpensively.
So, like my parents, there are probably a lot of parents that say, well, I think that the best bang for the buck is going to be the state colleges.
Right.
True or false?
There's a national radio host that's brutal about this. And he says, you're just going to send your kid to the state university. That's all you're going to do. I, as an academic strategist, I am very concerned about that. The problem with the state university is that the classes are so full, they accept so many students that many students find it very hard to get the classes that they need to graduate. So they'll sign up for classes. Oh, I need to take organic chemistry because I'm going to medical school, but it's full, and they can't get in. And so it's like buying a plane ticket and going down to the gate and then getting bumped over and over and over again. And this is why if you go to a website called collegedata.com, you can plug in any state, any university, public or private, and it'll give you statistics and information in a beautifully laid out way. And it's all in a standard way. It keeps you from having to go to a whole bunch of different websites. You look at the 4-year graduation rate and see if a college has a 10% 4-year graduation rate, that is really concerning. because a student who is in college for 5 years or 6 years, some people say that 2 extra years in college could cost your child $300,000 by the time you calculate in extra tuition payments,
Right.
loss of income, stunted retirement savings. We do not want kids languishing in 6-year programs in an extended adolescence. We want them to be done in 4 years or fewer. And many students who follow me are actually done at age 20. They're done with a 4-year degree at age 20. And people will find out about how we do that by reading their little chapter in Launch every 3 months as their kids are growing up. But we want kids to be out, and we want them to be in the working world, thriving and building their careers right away. We don't want any of this 6-year stuff. Now, for someone who has no choice but to go to a state university, and it could be a transportation issue. I just have to live with my parents and I need to go to the college nearest to the house, and it's a state
Right.
university. What I tell students is apply to the honors program at that state university. The honors program, just because it says honors, don't assume you can't get in there. You may very well be able to get in there. You're put in some special classes. You may live in a special quiet dormitory floor. You have other students who are high achieving honors students that are surrounding you. And one of your benefits may be that you get to register for classes first before other people. So you're registering, the classes are open, you slide right in, and the students who are in honors programs at state universities, they are getting through college in 4 years or fewer at much higher rates than students who don't do this. Now, you talked earlier about someone getting a C average, and what if they're not achieving academically? What if they went through a season in high school where they just were depressed, they were anxious, they weren't trying, and their GPA is low? Is there any hope for that child? And I want to tell you, this world is full of people who messed up academically, who got low GPAs in high school, and they went on to do amazing things that help the world. Now, I want students to study. I want them to study and achieve. But for anyone who's made some mistakes, it is never too late to turn that around and start trying. And the best resource that I provide to my followers for this is I have a class. It's available online in recorded form. It's about $295 if you just get it from me directly, but I'm going to give your listeners a way to get it cheaper than that. It's called The Strategic College Student: How to Get Higher Grades While Studying Less Than Most Other People. And when I teach this, I'll go out sometimes and teach it at a conference, or I have distributed in recorded form. It's a half-day seminar. And what I do is teach students what are the study strategies that students are using to get the highest grades possible while studying less than most other people. And the content of this class came out of research done at Carnegie Mellon University, where researchers became very curious about high achieving college students who are Phi Beta Kappa. This means highest grade point average on their
Right.
college campus, but they seemed like they never studied. And so they studied these kids to figure out what was going on. And the first thing they did was give them an IQ test. They thought, oh, are these kids just born smart? Is that why they can do this?
Yeah.
No. In some cases, these high achieving students had lower IQs than other people. But here's the thing they had going for them: they were strategic. They could figure out how to set a goal and figure out the fastest way to get there. And what the researchers discovered is that all the strategies these kids were figuring out and using are all teachable. We can teach them to kids. We can take kids that are at the bottom of their class and we could say, why don't you try these strategies and see what happens? And we can really turn lives around. Now, the least expensive way to get this class, it's offered twice a year for free inside my tribe membership. It's a part of the tribe membership experience. Everybody does it. And when people go to that special video training at debtfreecollege.us and they're reading my free weekly email newsletter, they'll know when the tribe doors open and they'll understand what that is. And there are many, many people that just join the tribe just simply to get that class for their kids. And it's for that class is for students ages 12 to 26. And I'll have all those people all in the same room, all at the same time with their parents and their grandparents, and everybody's benefiting from it.
Well, folks, we have given you a lot of information. And the beauty of a recorded program like this is you can go back and watch this as often as you want or need to in order to get some of that additional information that Jeannie has shared with you. I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me to inform people that there is this opportunity, and Launch is the book. I encourage you to check it out and be proactive. Know what is opportunities there are for you and for your child's future. Jeannie, again, thank you very much. I can't thank you enough because you're a wealth of information, and people, you can reach out with questions that you have to Jeannie and take charge of the future of yourself and your children and your grandchildren by availing yourself of all that Jeannie has talked about today. That will do it for another edition of Someone You Should Know. I end my shows by saying, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. And that will do it for another edition of Someone You Should Know. Again, thank you to Someone You Should Know, Jeannie Burlowski.
Someone